7. Could I have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the minutes are approved. And our one and only voting item tonight is the COPS hiring program. Major Hallmark is on the line. And Commissioners, this document was emailed to you, I believe. No, I'm sorry, there's probably not a document for this. Major Hallmark, why don't you go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good evening. In January 2020, Attorney General William Barr named 7 cities with violent crime issues, with Kansas City, Missouri being one of the 7 cities. At the time, the Attorney General designated $70 million federal dollars for the affected cities, $20 million of which was for equipment, $50 million for personnel. In February of 2020, we were contacted and told that Kansas City, Missouri and Kansas City, Kansas had been designated to receive some of these funds with no match as part of this enforcement initiative, which had been designated as Operation Relentless Pursuit. KCMO was being awarded the money and KCK was a subrecipient. Our portion of the funds was approximately $450,000, which had been earmarked for several technology projects.
He is now joining.
Several weeks ago, Steve McAllister, the U.S. Attorney for Kansas, reached out to the KCKPD and encouraged us to apply for the COPS 2020 hiring program as a supplement for Operation Relentless Pursuit initiative. Through this grant opportunity, we are requesting federal funds for 5 patrol positions.
Captain Hallmark, are you available still? Are any commissioners still on the line?
Welcome. If you're the meeting organizer, press star now. Please. After the tone, please record your name and then press pound.
Standing committee.
You are now joining the meeting as a leader.
This is Melissa Sieben. I'm sorry, our call dropped. Is everybody there?
Clerk's office is here.
Is now joining.
Commissioner Martin.
3 participants are now joining.
Tom Groneman's here.
Commissioner Byland's here. Jane Philbrook's here.
Christian Ramirez is here.
Commissioner Bynum, are you present?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I believe everybody's back on. Commissioner Groneman, can you just when you talk, just back away from your mic just a little bit or turn your volume down?
Yes, I can.
Thank you, sir.
Melissa, is Assistant Chief Hallmark back with us yet?
Ma'am, I am here.
Excellent. We lost you at some point. You want to try to pick up where you were?
Yes, ma'am, and I apologize if I'm repeating what you had already heard, but several
No
weeks
problem.
ago, the U.S. I'm sorry, did you say hold on, ma'am?
No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. The U.S. Attorney for the State of Kansas, Steve McAllister, personally reached out to the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department and encouraged us to apply for the COPS 2020 hiring program, which is a supplement for Operation Relentless Pursuit Initiative. Through this grant opportunity, we are requesting federal funds to pay for 5 patrol officer positions for a period of 3 years. The grant does require a match, but it also allows agencies to apply for a match waiver,
Is now joining.
which we are pursuing. Our grant application is requesting federal dollars to fund these 5 positions at 100% with no match required for the UG. The amount we would receive if we were awarded the waiver would be over $1.3 million to cover salaries and benefits. The grant is for 3 years, and unless we exceed our maximum authorized staffing levels, we would not have to increase our number of
Mike
10.
Kane.
Should we not receive the match waiver, we are under no obligation to accept the award.
Is now joining.
That's all I have, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry it's been a little choppy here, allowing you to present your items, but nonetheless, I do believe we have all of our committee members back on the line. And if there are questions, we can take them, and if anyone is present from the public, we can hear from them. And if neither of those are true, I would entertain a motion for approval of applying for the grant.
Markley, move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Groneman,
Aye.
Philbrooks,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Markley,
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye. And that passes. Thank you so much, Assistant Chief. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Commissioner.
The last item on our agenda is a construction update for the juvenile center.
Is now exiting.
The new Piper Fire
Unknown
Station and the Merck.
participant is now joining.
We have John Kelly, I believe, to provide us some updates, and this you do have in your email. Commissioners, you received this document. And John Kelly, are you there?
Commissioner Bynum, this is Melissa Sieben. I believe what staff has submitted is the documents for you to review. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help, and I have staff here.
Okay. Is there any
John
suggestion?
Kelly available?
No.
Okay.
Everything is moving
So-
forward as scheduled, as long as the challenge of our evening with COVID-19 doesn't bleed over into the construction sector.
And so I see a document. I can't seem to make it move past the Justice Center. It says it's one of 3 pages, but for some reason I can only see the first page. Let me move on to the project updates. Okay, these are all, the second document is just photographs, but when I look at all of this, it looks clearly like everything's moving along just fine. So I would ask our committee members, if anyone has a question, we can always bring this back next month for updates as well.
This is Markley. I'm just curious, Melissa, is this, are these pretty pictures going to be made available somewhere where the public could view them and see the updates that we're seeing?
Absolutely, Commissioner. We can get those up on our website, probably under some of the CIP updates that we have, or make sure it gets attached to the items that the clerks have posted.
Perfect.
I agree. I think that would be great for folks to see the progress being made on these projects. I would suggest perhaps if we are together in person, either next month or the following that we do bring the construction update back to us. It's possible that we still may not be together next month, but perhaps the month after that. Any committee members have any other questions?
This is Commissioner Philbrook. I have a quick question. So does that mean that we are going to actually include the 3 pages verbal explanation, the written explanation on the 3 projects with the pictures?
Yes, that
On
would be, this is Melissa. That would be our
Okay.
intention. Yeah, because it's kind of not useful unless that information's with it.
Yes, the pictures are nice, and you could make us guess at what it is. But yeah, this would be nice so they could see it. Thank you so much.
Yep, we'll get that together. Dave Reno is actually in the house, so he can help us execute on that.
Well, we really appreciate it. We totally understand how busy everyone is handling the
Unknown
crisis.
participant is now joining.
But we do appreciate whatever information like this we can share with the public would be very helpful. So that item is going to be information only unless I hear no other questions on that. And if not, we are going to adjourn Public Works and Safety, and I'll say thank you to BPU Board Member Groneman. And we will be in adjournment and move into our Administration and Human Services Committee.
I'm signing out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye. Be safe.
All right, gang. This is Commissioner Markley, and I will call this meeting of the Administration and Human Services Standing Committee to order. Same notes as Commissioner Bynum put forth. We are obviously doing this virtually for the most part. We have staff in place if there's any public to make comments. Commissioners, if you'd like to make comments, just state your name and go ahead and make the comment. When you're not commenting, please keep your microphone
Tom Groneman.
muted.
Is now
All right.
exiting.
Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Roll call. Philbrook,
Aye.
Kane,
I'm here.
Here.
Ramirez,
Here.
Bynum,
Here.
Markley.
Here. There are no revisions to tonight's agenda. Our first order of business is the minutes from the January 27th meeting. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved. Bynum.
Second.
Second.
Philbrook. Oh, sorry.
Sounds like we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Those minutes have been approved. We have one item on our committee agenda this evening. This is an item that's been before us previously for discussion, and we had some items to work out. It is an amendment of our codes relating to boards, committees, and commission members appointed by the Unified Government Commissioners. And is Ken Moore available to present?
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Good evening. I don't know if do we have our PowerPoint? No.
We received your PowerPoint by, or I think in PDF form, by email, I believe.
Okay, good. Well, to go through the beginning of it, the objective of this ordinance amendment is to standardize the nomination, appointment, and the terms of members in the rules applicable to the meetings of committees whose members are appointed by the UG commissioners. So these would be committees, boards, commissions that would have generally at least 11 members. It primarily addresses 9 committees that fall in that category. The Commission on Human Relations and Disabilities Issues, the Alcohol and Drug Advisory Committee, the Area-Wide Advisory Council on Aging, the Golf Advisory Board, the Housing Authority, the Landmarks Commission, the Law Enforcement Advisory Board, the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals, and the Downtown SHMID. So what we presented last time, what has not changed, is that the members are nominated by the individual commissioners and appointed by the full commission. Their terms coincide with the appointing commissioner, and the members serve until their successor is appointed. So that would give time for a new commissioner to be able to determine who they wanted to appoint and make that appointment. The previous commissioner or board member would remain. They automatically forfeit their position if they fail to attend 3 consecutive meetings. They serve without compensation, but expenses may be reimbursed. And members can be removed by the nominating commissioner or the mayor without cause, but subject to the approval of all the commissioners, the full commission. Members can be removed by any other commissioners, but only for cause. 51% of the memberships constitutes a quorum, and a majority of a quorum can take action. This is different than how the commission operates, where 6 votes are required to take action. Meetings are called by the chair, and minutes are to be filed with the UG clerk, and then they will be forwarded to the UG commission. There was a lot of conversation, some confusion, especially on my part, about the various disabilities and developmental disabilities boards. So previously we had the Advisory Committee on Disabilities Issues, the Commission on Human Relations, which dates back to 1964, and the Wyandotte County Development Disabilities Advisory Board, which was formed in 1988. In 2016, the Advisory Committee on Disabilities Issues was merged into the Commission on Human Relations to become the Commission on Human Relations and Disabilities Issues. But the Wyandotte County Development Disabilities Advisory Board was not repealed, but it has not been, no members have been appointed since 2016. So it is not a staffed and functioning board at this time. So what the current proposed ordinance does is, the Commission on Human Relations and Advisory Board does exist and has members, and the Wyandotte County Development Disabilities Advisory Board remains in the code without members. So the recommendation is to repeal the ordinance regarding the Wyandotte County Development Advisory Board. The one thing is that the statute and state administrative regs require that we have an advisory board on mental health and intellectual advisory issues. There is an ad hoc council of community members, which is organized pursuant to that regulation, and they perform that function. So the recommended action and what this ordinance would do, again, was repeal the Wyandotte County Development and Disabilities Advisory Board and designate the Commission on Human Relations and Disabilities Issues as the advisory board, but also maintain the Council of Community Members to serve their function. And one reason we think that is important is because that advisory board requires various different characteristics. For example, you should have a person from labor, business, hospitals, mental health, family members, mental health consumers, and different other organizations to form that advisory board, and that'd be very difficult for the commission to appoint members and fill all of those various qualifications. So we recommend maintaining that board in its current capacity, although it operates outside of our ordinance. So with that, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to try.
That all makes sense to me. Commissioners, do you have questions or comments on how we sort of reformulate that set of committees to meet our requirements?
Commissioner Merkley, I have a question. This is Commissioner Bynum.
Go ahead.
The composition of the board that requires specific characteristics, was that the Wyandotte County Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board that required those?
Yes, the statute also requires those for that board.
So how then are we merging that into the Advisory Commission on Human Relations and Disabilities Issues and maintaining that current board if they don't meet those specific characteristics?
Well, those characteristics can be used in, the commissioners can be aware of that when they appoint members to that board. But we feel that also using the Council of Community Members, which they adhere to that requirement more strictly, would serve that purpose and that requirement.
Okay. Thank you.
So the purpose of retaining that community board, in addition to the board appointed by the commissioners, is to make sure we're fulfilling that requirement.
That is correct.
Other questions? If not, and if we're ready to consider it, this is a voting item. We have an ordinance up for discussion.
Hey, Kenny, do you feel comfortable this time?
I do.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I assume there's no public out there wishing to address this item, or staff would alert me. Oh, wait, I think maybe my guide is wrong. We are supposed to be voting on this, Ken, right? I think my presentation says we're voting on it. My guide says we're not, so I think we're ready to vote on it. Can we go ahead and do that?
I think the confusion might be that the RFA was just carried over from the last meeting.
Okay. All right, well, I have a motion and a second on an ordinance that I think we're all comfortable with, so let's do roll call.
Roll call, Philbrook,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Markley.
Aye. All right, that was our only item up for discussion at the standing committee, so this will conclude our meeting this evening. Thank you to staff who helped hold us together here as we embark on this new journey of virtual meetings. And thank you to Melissa Stephen for being down there to let us know if there is any public. And we will adjourn for this evening. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, commissioners.
Good night, everybody.